Lupin and Jigen are paying a visit to the cell of Carlos, a safecracker that dupes Lupin out of a share of gold. The only thing in the cell is a dummy, and Zenigata appears to tell him that Carlos died the night before. Lupin seemingly trapped in the cell, but makes use of some fake hands to blast himself free. Later, Zenigata is lost in thought when he notices someone following him. He cuffs his pursuer only to find it to be a young woman, Anne. Anne tells him that she plans to kill Lupin, who stole a family heirloom from her in the past. Zenigata vows to take care of Lupin in her stead. Meanwhile, Lupin watches over Carlos's funeral, knowing that he had a grandchild as an heir. He spots a latecomer and approaches him, confirming he's the grandson. When asked about the gold, the grandson claims not to know much, but points him to Zenigata, claiming to be a friend of Carlos. Zenigata cuffs Lupin's car as a police force emerges. Lupin pulls free, but Zenigata's on the warpath. Lupin takes to the air with Zenigata tagging along. He manages to keep pursuing in the water too. Goemon comes to Lupin's help, but Zenigata swipes his flotation shoes. Anne attacks Lupin as he reaches land and he fires back. As he ponders whether he's even seen her, Zenigata catches up. He discovers Anne mortally wounded, telling him to get revenge for her. Zenigata gets in some target practice and is approved for a license to kill Lupin. Fujiko is revealed to be working with the grandson. They discuss Lupin and the gold, only for the grandson to reveal he knows she slipped sleeping pills in his drink. He turns the tables on her and then unmasks as Anne. Zenigata shoots at Goemon, demanding to know Lupin's location. Goemon realises his killing intent and challenges him. The bullet Zenigata used was laced with superglue, leaving his sword stuck in the hilt. Zenigata uses some cuff trickery and leaves him dragged around by some nearby horses. Goemon makes it back to Lupin and informs him, though Lupin's confused as he's sure he fired a trank. They head to the grandson's location, who tells them Zenigata's waiting at a stadium with Fujiko. Anne goes on ahead and thanks a tied up Fujiko for all the Lupin advice, as well as how to use fake blood and sleeping pills to fake her death. Lupin and Zenigata duke it out in the main field. It comes down to a final shot, which Lupin intentionally misses. Zenigata hit his mark, left devastated as Jigen and Goemon take Lupin away. Later, Anne loads a gravestone into a vehicle when she's approached by Lupin using her own grandson disguise. He survived using the same trick she did. Turns out the gravestone is where Carlos hid the gold too. The passing Zenigata is happy to see that both he and Anne are still alive as Lupin heads off with his treasure. This episode serves as a good reminder that Zenigata can be a force to be reckoned with in the right mindset. He just doesn't seem to put that mindset into action most of the time, whether subconsciously or not. It also serves as a good reminder that Zenigata can be as bad as Goemon when it comes to women. Granted, that's what made this episode a fun watch. Anne managed to serve as an entertaining antagonist, managing to play Zenigata and Lupin, even if only initially in the latter's case. Tourists in Copenhagen are shocked to discover the arm of the Little Mermaid statue has been cut off. As Goemon sits down to a natto meal, a common and traditional dish in Denmark as well as Japan, he's arrested by the authorities as the prime suspect. Lupin learns of this and employs the help of a dolphin, Leticia. He's working under the orders of Norman, Copenhagen's head of tourism. The arm was actually cut off by a random tourist, and Norman promises to free Goemon if Lupin can recover it from the wreck of the Santa Maria. Lupin's only going along with it because it's easier than springing Goemon from the high-security prison where he's been incarcerated. Lupin uses an experimental translator to communicate with Leticia. He's soon joined by Fujiko, who claims she wants to help as Goemon's her friend too, not that Jigen buys it. Leticia seems to be jealous that Lupin's given another woman attention. Eventually, they manage to find the room where the arm was being held. Leticia only agrees to take the arm if she's convinced Lupin likes her, however. Meanwhile, Zenigata, who was staking out the prison, is informed of Lupin's salvage operation, falling through a hole to Goemon's cell. He's met by a man named Wallace, Norman's secretary. They discover Goemon's cell empty and Zenigata heads inside to investigate. Goemon was hidden behind a fake wall, and Wallace returns Antetsuken to him as they escape. Zenigata manages to place a tracker on the sword as they leave, however. Goemon joins the others as the arm is returned. Lupin notices something strange about it, but Fujiko takes it before he can get a closer look. As they try to chase her, Goemon mentions he was given some natto as a repayment for going along with all of this. Said natto has a bomb hidden inside. Fujiko was working with Wallace, who was using the arm to stash a gem known as the Mermaid's Heart before the tourists stole it. Thanks to Leticia's help, Lupin listens in, though Goemon's more angry at his violated natto than any Fujiko betrayal. Leticia attacks Wallace, but he traps her in a net. Wallace soon decides to betray Fujiko, ready with a story on what happened when the authorities find her. Norman then enters and decides he wants the gem for himself. Lupin then reveals he was listening in thanks to Leticia still having the microphone. He floods the room they're in, and this allows Leticia to attack. The gang then make their entrance and reclaim the treasures. With Leticia's help they escape, but the police are waiting outside. Leticia says she'll help, but only if Lupin agrees to marry her. Lupin agrees, completely of his own free will, so Leticia summons a dolphin pod, causing enough chaos for everyone to escape. Lupin tosses the arm to Zenigata, but Fujiko takes the gem for herself. She leaves Lupin to be carried off by Leticia. What would a dolphin wedding even entail? Don't answer that. Funny thing is, the actual Little Mermaid statue had its arm sawn off in 1984, one of several times it's been vandalised over the years. Dolphin shenanigans aside, this was a bit of a fillerish episode overall. Wallace and Norman are just kind of there for the most part, especially Norman just sort of showing up at the end in the betrayal. It was pretty funny seeing the rest of the gang forcing Lupin to go along with the charade of charming Leticia at least. Zenigata oversees a gold shipment being transported to Morocco. It gets attacked by a helicopter that fires knockout gas. He holds on thanks to his acquired resistance to knockout gas, but gets jumped by someone with a knife. He realises Lupin isn't involved and fights back, but the gas takes effect soon after. Lupin and Jigen watch a news report on the situation, knowing they weren't involved as they only just arrived in town. Zenigata breaks away from the press and discovers the knife used on him. Taken for analysis, he learns that it's a knife. More than that, a combat knife, used by special forces as denoted by a serial number on the blade. Turns out the analyst was Lupin. He unmasked a bit too early too, as he has to navigate his way around Zenigata realising he forgot the knife. Zenigata's search of the local military turns up nothing. Lupin keeps watch, and the man who attacked Zenigata, Dandy, is revealed to be an underling to the leader, Geese. With no results, Zenigata is dismissed from duty. He drowns his sorrows and doesn't notice the special forces following. They fire on a bell tower he falls down by in an attempt to kill him as he lies collapsed on the street. Lupin and Jigen spy on the base, leading Jigen to recognise Geese from his Foreign Legion days. Unfortunately for them, Geese knows they're in the base, and drops them through a trapdoor as they follow him underground. While Lupin grabs the edge at the last second, Jigen lands in Geese's underground facility and is welcomed to the operation. Geese plans to use the gold to fund a war effort to make his own United States of Africa. He offers Jigen a spot at his side, which Jigen respectfully rejects. Lupin then arrives on the scene with a missile, allowing them both to escape. Goemon arrives at Lupin's hideout with a paper detailing the attempt to kill Zenigata, which blames Lupin. Lupin pays Zenigata a visit at the hospital, posing as a mortician to mess around with him. He soon unmasks and promises to bring him a get well gift. As the gang walk the streets, the special forces keep watch. They make an attack and chase them across the city. Being smaller targets, the gang manage to evade. They hitch a ride on board the helicopter as Dandy returns to base, believing he's blasted them to pieces. Dandy meets Geese as their plan to transport the gold nears completion, borrowing from one of Lupin's own ideas, albeit as a tank. Lupin manages to hijack the base's communications and announces his presence. Geese makes an attack on them, but decides moving to their African base takes priority. The gang follow in their own helicopter and hook aboard Geese's plane. Goemon then cuts away the plane's tail, leaving Geese, Dandy and the tank in their possession. Zenigata gets an impromptu visit from Geese and Dandy, with the tank in hand. Lupin tells him he hopes he enjoys the get well gift before heading off. I somehow doubt one golden tank will be enough to fund taking over a continent, but for a would-be dictator, Geese is largely played for laughs anyway. Fairly high on the comedy overall here, I guess to lighten the situation some. Also pretty feel good in the end, what with Lupin leaving Zenigata with the culprits as well as the gold. Lupin is attending a 50 million lottery draw run by a Tony Luckinode that Fujiko has infiltrated. While the winner of this one is legitimate, the intent is to build hype for an upcoming and rigged 500 million draw. Disguised as a reporter, Lupin keeps track of the ticket sales and has some fun putting Zenigata on the spot with how a noble Interpol officer such as him would donate the winnings to a good cause. Zenigata realises he never mentioned he was Interpol, but more importantly the ticket office has sold out. Lupin appears in another disguise and offers him his own ticket. Tony passes the winning ticket to his subordinate before meeting with Zenigata. He's warned about Fujiko, but assures the inspector that the money's safe, as it's on a timed lock that only opens right before the draw. Fujiko goes over the security with Lupin. She also passes him a glass Luckinode used, which Lupin lifts a fingerprint from for the control room access. Lupin disguises as Luckinode and slips past Zenigata. Some earlier fears about the hallway to the control room are confirmed, as various tiles are booby-trapped. He struggles through, but ends up falling through a trapdoor. He lands in the subway below, where Zenigata has tracked him down. Zenigata's victory is cut short when a train closes in on everyone. The police force scatter while Lupin sneaks away on board. Lupin figures Zenigata will be at least somewhat distracted by the draw itself. He pays the planted winner a visit and switches his hairspray for knockout gas, switching out his ticket as he loses consciousness. The plant tells Luckinode, who decides to use the numbers printed on Lupin's replacement. As he leaves for the control room, he slips on the floor, overwaxed by Jigen, who's currently disguised as a janitor. He meets with Zenigata and is surprised to learn he also has a ticket. Despite this, he moves on to announce the numbers. He has special glasses that allow him to see the tiles that trigger the traps. Goemon cuts power to the area as the lottery numbers are announced. There's some panic, but the audience are assured that the backup generator will soon boot up. Lupin makes his presence known to Luckinode, having managed to get to the control room thanks to the floor wax leaving footprints. He knows the money is still in the safe as opposed to the fake notes in the drawer itself, swiping Luckinode's glasses. Luckinode races back, but the power returns and he can't tell which tiles are trapped. Meanwhile, Zenigata gets into an argument with the plant as they both have the same lottery number. Luckinode witnesses this, realising he's got some problems to deal with as Lupin rides off with the money. Certainly makes you question the legitimacy of lotteries sometimes. Basic episode, but still pretty fun throughout. Could have been funny if Zenigata actually did have the legitimate ticket, but some contrivance kept him from keeping the money anyway. Next time, Jigen versus a colonel, scamming an insurance scam, avenging a friend of Fujiko, and some illegitimate offspring bring us to episode 44. Until then,